Well, hello everybody, welcome back into the Yard and Gardens for our weekly look around at how things are growing. And of course the wind is picked up, so let's hope the mic cover is doing its job. We've got a lot of interesting things going on this week, and so I think I'm not going to do too much babbling. I'm just going to get started sharing. So yes, let's head to them red currants first. Looking at these, we can see I've still got that kind of webbing issue going on. Not quite sure what's going on there. Shock suggested maybe it was wise young spiders looking for the fruit flies, but we're getting some color on here. The birds have left us a few, so a quick rinsing and those will be fine. Got lots of new growth coming up here, so next year we're going to get a whole bunch more. Haven't checked in the foil to see if I'm getting roots in the air layering yet. I'm going back to my initial thoughts that this is something that's going to take months, and I'm probably not expecting to get anything out of that before fall. But even at that rate, you know what? Next year I can do a couple more off this bush. I can certainly afford to lose it and increase my rate of multiplication. It will be fine. The webbing on that though, definitely need to figure out what's going on there. A few of you have suggested I look into bird netting. It's really not an unreasonable suggestion, and probably something I will be surfing around looking for this winter, seeing if I can find a good price on it, because we're starting to get a pretty good collection and the birds are starting to recognize that. And as pretty as they are with their wonderful variety, the berries are here for us. So yes, red currants. And then here we have the chickens planter, where I forgot my squash, like I've mentioned a few times, but we can see the bean is doing very nicely in here. We got some very large leaves. It looks like the pea has decided to climb up the bean instead of the lonely popcorn stalk. We're starting to get some decent height on this. Not much width to these popcorn leaves, especially compared to the sweet corn you'll see in a few minutes, but starting to get some height on that. And down at the bottom, my little parsley plantings all seem to be popping up, so that will be great. Char makes this really incredible salad, tabbouleh or something like that. Uses a lot of parsley, so it will be good to have so much of that growing around. And yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with this. I mean, one lonely corn all by itself, that's so against the rules and against the odds, but that's my channel, right? I like to try things that are supposed to fail and find out why, and then still fiddle with them some more because I'm persistent, kind of like a donkey that way. All right, let's move over to the swail garden, which has exploded with life this last week. I recently tried to do a little bit of weeding in here, and for the most part, I think I left seedlings from what I kind of tossed on top. It looks like we finally got some cucumbers down here starting to sprout. I don't think they've got much of a chance, but it's nice to see them there all the same. Lots of radishes and, what else did I put in here? Rutabagas. These beans are doing not too bad. Not great. I'm not sure what's going on with that, but not too bad. Some more radishes poking out there. So here we have the circle of corn, and this has been sort of an interesting thing too. We've got much broader leaves on these popcorn than we do on that one all by itself. So it certainly looks healthier. There's a lot of varieties of things growing in with it as well. So as far as diversifying your planting, I mean, that kind of maybe suggests something. But it does look like all the various plantings I put in have sprouted. On some of them we can definitely see where 3 corn kernels went in there, 2 corn kernels went in there, got 2 over there. So I mean, multiple plantings are what they are. I probably should pull them, but I'm going to leave them because I want to compare it to something that's going on in the sweet corn. So like I said, we'll get to that in a couple minutes. Looking at the rest of the swail garden here though, I found little carrot seedlings in here and all kinds of fun stuff. None of these cucumbers ever did sprout up, but some of my more regular viewers, y'all know what this garden is made out of. It's surprising that anything grows in it at all, really. If you're new to the channel and you're curious, look back, it's in those videos. I want to say 2 years ago we built this, maybe 3. So you are going to have to skip back a bit. But hey, there's a lot of weird gardening adventures in those years, so it could be entertaining. We got the black thumb potato garden. Look at this. This is just lush and green and got so much growth going on. And with the recent windstorms, some of the potatoes have laid down a little bit. I can see bean flowers. I thought the beans were long since dead, so that's kind of a surprise. Found some there, and there's some, hopefully the camera's getting the angle right, in there. And the wind just laid all of these down. But that kind of backs my thinking anyway about in the future. I'm just gonna lay potatoes down instead of hilling them up. I'm gonna hill them over. But here we can see a lot more of the bean flowers coming up. Just kind of happily growing with that tater. Not much of a vine on this bean. I mean, it's pretty scraggly looking plant, but this isn't about the beans. They were just kind of, the book said to put them there, so I did. This is about the potatoes, and yeah, I'm impressed. I don't remember our potatoes looking that big last year, but really it's not about what's happening above the ground, it's about what's happening in the straw. So we will wait till fall to give any final judgments on that. But here we have this year's standard variation, I guess we'll call it, of the Three Sisters garden. We've got our pumpkins in the back. We're starting to get some sprawl. I like that. Starting to see a few different places where there's going to be flowers opening up soon, so that is very exciting. A little bit of sprawl coming out the front here as well. Bean patch in the middle is doing wonderfully. And then up front, those spaghetti squash are looking nice. They're definitely going to make use of that whole area I've left for them, so I feel really good about this particular patch and planting in this fashion. And now the sweet corn, I mentioned there was something interesting going on with that, and I mentioned how much broader these leaves are, right? Like, wow. But I've had a couple of them that were attacked, birds, insects, not sure, and we've got suckers, I would call them, like you would find on a tomato plant. That would be a sucker coming out at the bottom. It's 3 just off of this one plant that got ravaged. The plant beside it has a couple of suckers coming out. Plant beside that has a couple of suckers coming out. There are quite a few of them on this side, excuse me, that are just exploding with that side growth. Now what I'm wondering, because a lot of you expressed concerns over wind not being enough to pollinate with these rows so far apart and such, but if they're growing out the side, are those little side ones going to produce tassels? Are those little side ones going to produce cobs? Will that aid in wind pollination with this, you know, sparse planting? Or is it like tomatoes, and if I want any kind of harvest at all, I should probably remove those suckers? I'm guessing that standard, air quotes, garden wisdom says to remove them, but being me and loving to test things, I'm just going to leave them on there and we'll see how it grows, because these are easily the nicest corn I have ever grown on this property. I mean, just look at these leaves. Crazy. Yeah, very happy with how this patch looks. Beside it, we've got the tomato patch, which is, you know, clearly teeming with life, but unfortunately a lot of it is neither tomato nor onion. So I definitely have to come through here, do some weeding. I found some leather gauntlets from when I was working at the welding shop, and I've been using those to pull the thistles, so hopefully I can get a lot more of their roots out. My main concern is I want to make sure I get them before they go to flower and throw all those seeds out there. I mean, here we can see the top of it looks like a thistle that went to flower, and it's already out there, so I'm going to try and clean that up later. But here we've got, whoa, one of my tomatoes. We got an open flower on that. I'll just give you a shake. Pretty sure that's the broad ripple yellow currant. So, I mean, the tomatoes are doing all right. Even in spite of all these weeds that are growing in the patch there, they seem to be doing fairly well. They're growing sturdy. I don't know what kind of harvest I'm going to get out of it, but I do know that I'm surprised any of them lived. So, honestly, to see this kind of growth is phenomenal to me. And then we'll take a quick look at the chaos garden here, which is back to its usual self. I've got to weed out the area around the pine berries again. We have opted to take some of those suckers and put them in the hanging planter from the other strawberries we got that did die off in the basement. Might as well make use of the planter, right? Apparently the soil was good for the berries, so why not give it a go? All right. So that pretty much wraps up what I've got growing on in the gardens this year. I didn't get to playing with the tiller over the last week. Well, I mean, I fiddled with it, but I didn't play with it, right? Like, I got it starting. I got a new pull cord thing for it. I got some oil for it. I still got to find some crankcase oil for it, but it seems to be good to go there. Put some gas in it. Ran for a minute or two, but haven't yet attacked the side yard with it. So maybe this week we'll see. Got some extra work coming up at work, so it's, you know, keeps one busy. Anywho, I hope you've enjoyed this particular update, and I'm really curious to hear what y'all think about the situation with the corn suckers. So please hit me up down in the comments below. Let me know what you think, and yeah, I'll get back to you guys next time. Take care and much love, everybody.